Hi guys, it's Aoife from Words of Clover and I'm here to talk about the 5 non-fiction books I'm going to try and read during Non-Fiction November this year. I think I have a similar problem to a lot of other people in that I have so many non-fiction books that I want to read, but I find it very hard sometimes to prioritise them over other books on my TBR. So I love Non-Fiction November that is run by Olive over at the book Olive, who I will leave linked down below. I decided on 5 non-fiction books that I'm going to try and read this month. And I say try to read because historically I have not done very well when it comes to non-fiction November. Last year I did like an MBR, so it might be read, and I think during that month I only read one of the books that was actually on my TBR because it was just one of those months. The book I decided to read first was very long, very dry, and it took me a very long time to get through. 2 books on that TBR that I've actually read, so those ones I still need to read, but I have picked some new ones for this year. So the first book I want to try and read this month is My Name is Selma by Selma van Perre. This sounds like a really interesting book, and it's one that I've gotten on NetGalley, and it is written by a woman who was a World War II survivor. She is Jewish. I think she was originally from the Netherlands, and when she was younger during World War II she joined up with the resistance, and she worked for the resistance under an alias for a while until she was eventually captured by the Germans and sent to Ravensbrück concentration camp. So this is basically her memoir, and it's her, I think, just talking about her life and her experiences during World War II, and I presume after World War II, and just all the things that she went through. And I always find these memoirs really, really interesting, and even though I might have read a couple others in the past like it, I think each one is special and each one deserves equal attention because every survivor's story needs to be heard and is so important. This is also blurbed by Edith Eger, who wrote The Choice, which I read a couple of years ago, which I absolutely loved. It was absolutely fantastic, and if you haven't read her book I would definitely recommend that one as well. But I'm really looking forward to getting into this one because I just have a really good feeling about it, and I'm really hoping that I will love it. The next book I want to read is Hud Feminism by Mikki Kendall. This is one that's been on my TBR for a while, and I was kind of just waiting for the right moment to read it, and I think Non-Fiction November is definitely the moment that I'm going to try and read this one. See, just a book about intersectional feminism and why it's so important and what needs to be done to make kind of, I guess, mainstream feminism more intersectional, and for us to kind of keep thinking about feminism in that way to make sure that we are including everybody. So this one just ticks like so many of my boxes that I love to read about, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this one, and I've heard really good things about it as well, so I think I'm going to love it. The next book I want to read is also one that I got from NetGalley recently, and it's called The Good Girls by Sonia Faleiro. This is a book that is actually about the killing of 2 girls in India a few years ago. It went in 2014, and their bodies were discovered hanging from a tree outside of their village one day, and I actually remember reading about this in the news at the time, and I remember the kind of uproar that happened because of this, because it wasn't too long after the Delhi bus rape that happened. And there was this like real kind of spotlight on how women were treated in India, and particularly kind of, I think, sexual assault, and how women were treated versus how the men who perpetrated the attacks, how they were treated. And this kind of happened around the same time, or when that was still kind of a real big buzz in the news and in India. So this book actually just tells the story of these 2 girls, who they were, kind of what they were like, why they went out that night, when they didn't come home, what happened, what their families did. And I think it's just giving them their story, and then it's also giving their family a chance to tell their story as well, and to talk about these girls and talk about the days and the weeks and months surrounding their killing, and I think what happened. So this one will probably be very hard to read at times. I think it's definitely looking at kind of sexual assault, how women are treated, possibly victim blaming, I'm not really sure, but yeah, it definitely sounds like it's going to be hard to read but also quite important. And then I also want to try and finally read Hidden Figures this month. This is written by Margaret Shatterly, and this one is just about the women who were involved in NASA, the black women who were involved in NASA, I think around the time of the Apollo missions. I haven't watched the film of this, even though it's one that I really want to watch, because I keep telling myself I want to read the book first. So now I can finally try and make myself read that book so I can watch the movie. And then the last book I'm determined to read this month is The Five by Hallie Rubenfeld. This is a book that's basically about the 5 women that Jack the Ripper killed, and this is a look at what their lives were like, what they were doing the days that they were killed. Also unveiling the truth about these women, and the fact that history for some reason thinks that all of these women were prostitutes, and it almost gives it this kind of reason why they were killed, because they were kind of women of the night, and that they were women who were easy prey and things like that, where I think actually only one of the women, or maybe not even any of the women, were actual prostitutes, where for some reason this was just something that was told at some point in history, and then it was remembered, and it's kind of actually misremembered. This is one that from the first moment, I think the first person I ever heard talk about this, I was like, I need to read this book. This sounds absolutely amazing. I think it possibly might have been Simon over at Savage Reads, but I can't remember. But ever since then, I've seen more and more people read this and really, really enjoy it. But from the get-go, this was one that I knew I had to get my hands on, and I have it. I've managed to get a copy on my Kindle, though I'm not sure if this is one, if I really, really love it, I might get my own copy as well. But I am dying to read this book. This is one that I'm really, really excited to read, so I can't wait to read it this month. Those are all the books I'm hoping to read during Nonfiction November 2020. If you guys are taking part in Nonfiction November, please let me know what you guys are planning to read, or even if you are not taking part, I'd actually love to know what your favourite non-fiction read is. So if you want to let me know in the comments below. At the moment, I have to say my favourite non-fiction read is either Don't Touch My Hair by Emma Dabiri or The Radium Girls by Kate Moore, because those are two books that just really stuck with me and ones that I keep thinking about even today. So thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.